My wife came home smiling. Not the polite smile she used for neighbors. Not the exhausted smile she wore after long days at work. This was different. It was the smile of someone who believed they had gotten away with something. She dropped her purse on the kitchen counter, kicked off her heels, and walked straight to the refrigerator. "Hey," she said casually. "Lunch ran longer than I expected." I looked up from my coffee. "Did it?" She nodded. "Traffic was terrible." Then she kissed my cheek. A quick practice kiss. The kind that exists only to avoid suspicion. And for the first time in our 8 years of marriage, I felt absolutely nothing when she touched me. Because 40 minutes earlier, I had watched her holding another man's hand through the window of a restaurant across town. I knew something she didn't, and she had no idea what was coming. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I'm 38 years old, and 6 months ago, I learned that betrayal isn't what destroys a marriage. The lies afterward do. If you've ever trusted someone who turned that trust into a weapon, then you already understand what I'm about to tell you. Because the worst part isn't discovering the truth. The worst part is realizing how long they've been laughing while you were still believing. 3 months before everything exploded, my life looked ordinary from the outside. I owned a small commercial construction company in Charlotte. Nothing glamorous, just honest work, long hours, reliable clients, the kind of business that lets you sleep at night. My wife, Vanessa, worked in marketing. She was intelligent, charming, and effortlessly social. People liked her instantly, sometimes a little too instantly, but I never worried. Trust was never our problem. At least that's what I thought. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday, a completely forgettable day. Vanessa was in the shower when her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. I wasn't trying to snoop. I wasn't even looking at it. Then a message preview appeared. "Can't stop thinking about lunch yesterday." My stomach tightened. The sender's name wasn't saved, just a number. When Vanessa came downstairs, I asked casually, "Who's that?" She glanced at the screen, barely half a second, then smiled. "Oh, a client." Client. Simple. Confident. Immediate. No hesitation. Most lies fail because people think too much before speaking. Vanessa had clearly practiced hers. I wanted to believe her, so I did, for about 2 weeks. Then the lunches started. 1 lunch became 2. 2 became 4. Then suddenly every Thursday seemed to involve some mysterious client meeting. Funny thing about patterns. Once you notice them, they're impossible to unsee. I started paying attention. Nothing dramatic, just observing. The way she became protective of her phone. The way she started dressing differently on Thursdays. The way she smiled at messages she never shared. One evening she walked into the living room carrying a shopping bag. Designer shoes. $600. Maybe more. "Those are new." She laughed. "Work bonus." I nodded, but something felt wrong. Vanessa's company wasn't giving bonuses. I knew because I'd helped review her contract during a salary negotiation 2 years earlier. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I knew. Because I didn't. Suspicion is exhausting. Your brain becomes a courtroom where every piece of evidence argues with itself. Maybe she's cheating. Maybe you're paranoid. Maybe she's lying. Maybe you're insecure. Round and round. No verdict. No peace. 2 weeks later I got my answer. I wasn't looking for it. Found me. I had a client meeting downtown. The meeting ended early. I decided to grab lunch before heading back to the office. Then I saw her car. Vanessa's white Lexus. Parked outside a restaurant she had never mentioned. I told myself there was a reasonable explanation. There always is, until there isn't. I walked closer, and through the front window I saw my wife, laughing, holding hands with a man I'd never seen before. Not across the table. Not casually. Intimately. Comfortably. Like people who had done it many times. The world didn't stop. No dramatic music played. No lightning struck. Life just continued. Cars passed. Waiters served food. People talked. And my marriage quietly died behind a sheet of glass. I stood there for less than 30 seconds. Then I left. No confrontation. No scene. No emotional explosion. Because something inside me had gone cold. Very cold. That afternoon I hired a private investigator. Not because I needed confirmation. Because I needed facts. Facts survive denial. Facts survive manipulation. Facts survive tears. 3 weeks later the report arrived. 72 pages. Photographs. Hotel receipts. Travel records. Messages. Financial transfers. Everything. The affair had been going on for 14 months. 14. While celebrating anniversaries. While taking vacations. While discussing children. 14 months. The man's name was Trevor Hayes. Divorced. 42. Regional sales director. And according to the investigator, he believed Vanessa was planning to leave me. Soon. I read that sentence 3 times. Then laughed. Not because it was funny. because it explained everything. She wasn't just cheating. She was managing timelines, trying to keep both lives running until she decided which one was more profitable. The following month became an education. I stopped arguing, stopped asking questions, stopped paying attention to her excuses. Instead, I paid attention to reality. The mortgage, the accounts, the assets, the legal exposure. I hired an attorney, then a forensic accountant. Quietly, methodically, patiently, the same way you dismantle a dangerous structure. One piece at a time. What we discovered surprised even me. Vanessa had been moving money, not huge amounts, small enough to avoid attention. 1,000 here, 2,000 there, vacation funds, emergency funds, investment withdrawals. Over 14 months, she'd quietly transferred nearly $90,000. Most of it had gone into accounts connected to Trevor. That changed everything. Because infidelity hurts. Financial fraud creates evidence. My attorney smiled when she saw the documents. Not a happy smile, a professional smile. The kind that means someone just made a very expensive mistake. Meanwhile, Vanessa continued her performance. Every Thursday lunch, every late meeting, every carefully constructed lie. And every time she came home smiling, I smiled back. She interpreted my silence as ignorance. It wasn't. It was preparation. 3 weeks later, she finally made her move. We were eating dinner. She put down her fork, took a deep breath, and looked at me with rehearsed sadness. Ethan. The tone alone told me everything. I've been doing a lot of thinking. Of course you have. I don't think I'm happy anymore. There it was. The speech. The one she'd probably practiced in front of a mirror. The one designed to make betrayal sound like self-discovery. I listened quietly. She talked about growing apart, finding herself, different paths, needing space. Every cliché arrived exactly on schedule. When she finished, she looked relieved, as if she had just completed an unpleasant task. I nodded. Okay. Her eyes narrowed. Okay. That wasn't the reaction she expected. People who manipulate others rely heavily on predictability. When you refuse to follow the script, they become nervous. Vanessa became nervous. What does that mean? It means if you're unhappy, we should separate. The relief returned immediately. She thought she was winning. That was her mistake. 2 days later, she moved into an upscale apartment. An apartment she believed Trevor would soon share. 3 days after that, my attorney filed. The financial records were included. Every transfer, every withdrawal, every hidden account, every documented misuse of marital assets. The first call came the next morning. Vanessa, panicking. Ethan, what is this? I looked at the ceiling. What is what? You know exactly what. I do. Silence. Then anger. Then bargaining. Then tears. All within 60 seconds. It was almost impressive. You didn't have to do this. I nearly laughed. No, she didn't have to do this. I simply responded. The hearing was scheduled 6 weeks later. Trevor disappeared before it happened. Apparently he liked dating married women more than financing them. The moment attorneys started requesting financial disclosures, he vanished. Phone disconnected. Apartment vacated. Social media deleted. Gone. Vanessa called him 47 times in 2 days. The investigator confirmed it. Not a single call returned. For the first time, she experienced what she'd been giving others. Abandonment. Funny how painful it becomes when the direction changes. By the time court arrived, Vanessa looked exhausted. Not physically, emotionally, like someone realizing consequences are real. Her attorney attempted damage control, misunderstandings, accounting confusion, emotional distress. The judge wasn't interested. Documents don't care about emotions. Bank records don't care about explanations. Numbers simply exist. The ruling wasn't catastrophic. But it was expensive. Very expensive. The hidden transfers were credited against her settlement. Several financial claims disappeared entirely. Assets were redistributed. Reimbursements ordered. The math was brutal. Afterward, Vanessa approached me outside the courthouse. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then she shook her head. I never thought you'd do this. That sentence stayed with me, because it revealed everything. Not, I never thought I'd get caught. Not, I never thought I'd lose. Not even, I'm sorry. I never thought you'd do this. Translation. I never thought you'd stop being the person I could exploit. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something surprising. I wasn't angry anymore. The anger had burned itself out months earlier. What remained was clarity. You thought I wouldn't protect myself. Her eyes filled with tears. Maybe genuine, maybe not. It didn't matter. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then walked away. That was the last meaningful conversation we ever had. 6 months have passed since then. The house is quieter now. Peacefully quiet. Not lonely. Just honest. There's a difference. Sometimes people ask whether I regret not confronting her the day I saw her in that restaurant. Whether I regret staying silent. The answer is no. Because silence isn't weakness when it's paired with action. Sometimes silence is strategy. Sometimes silence is the space where truth reveals itself. And sometimes silence allows people to keep digging the hole they insist on falling into. The last thing I heard about Vanessa came from a mutual friend. She moved to another city, started over, new apartment, new job, new story. Maybe she's happy, maybe she isn't. That part no longer belongs to me. What belongs to me is the lesson. The lesson that trust should be given freely but never blindly. That loyalty without boundaries becomes self-destruction. And that the most dangerous people aren't always the loud ones. Sometimes they're the smiling ones. The ones who come home from a lunch date acting like nothing happened. Certain they've outsmarted everyone around them. Certain there will never be consequences. Vanessa walked through that front door smiling because she thought she controlled the future. What she never understood was that the moment I saw the truth through that restaurant window, the future stopped belonging to her. And by the time she realized it, there was nothing left to control. Only the bill. And eventually every debt comes due.